they might add some more teams to the Big 12 sooner rather than later. Jason Scheer tweeted this out just the other day, saying, according to sources, there is an internal belief in the Big 12 that Florida State and Clemson are likely to join the conference within the next year or so. Now, of course, Jason Scheer, he's a Wildcat. I understand that. He's on PHNX Wildcats all the time. But one thing I will say about Jason is when it comes to conference realignment, he's kind of hit the nail on the head. He did it with Arizona. He did it with Arizona State, Colorado, and those schools, and people were giving him a lot of flack when it first happened. Jason, again, he got it right. So when it comes to this, I'm siding with Jason Scheer on it. I think Jason obviously knows something. He's not just tweeting for the sake of popularity and to just tweet. That's not what he does. But as we look a little bit deeper into Clemson and Florida State potentially joining the Big 12, we know about the lawsuits with the ACC. From the sounds of it, the Big 12 expects those to kind of get handled in their favor, and those two programs would be on the market. So the conversation that I want to have today in terms of those programs joining the Big 12 has a lot to do with kind of the fallout. And we saw the fallout of Texas and Oklahoma going to the SEC, leaving the Big 12, left an opening, right? Brett Yormark and that conference decided that they were obviously going to add some teams. They more recently added Arizona State, Arizona, Colorado, and Utah. But even prior, that following year, they added other schools. They added a Cincinnati. They added BYU, UCF, and the list goes on, right? So we know Brett Yormark and the Big 12 aren't scared to add teams, to get creative with it, okay? So you add Clemson, you add Florida State. House of Heat Sports in the chat. Imagine Dilly versus Norvell Bowl every single year. Of course, Norvell at Florida State and Dilly at ASU. They work together for some time. Memphis at Florida State. So that would certainly be interesting. You assume Florida State and Clemson would come from the ACC, and they would be two of the powerhouses now in the Big 12, which is interesting because it feels like this conference might be lacking a little bit of sheer dominance when it comes to football. You could talk about Utah. You could talk a little bit about Arizona, but that hasn't happened year over year. You know, Arizona State will be there in no time, right? Just 5 seasons or so. Maybe less. We're a 10-win team at a certain point. You never know. And I'm not talking about EA Sports College Football 25. I'm talking about real life here, okay? But Florida State, Clemson, bear with me here. Buckle up, okay, Danielle? Florida State, Clemson, they bounce. Sayonara. They have left the ACC. They are now in the Big 12. That leaves a giant hole in the ACC as it stands, very similar to when Texas and Oklahoma left, very similar to when USC and UCLA left the Pac-12. Now, this is where things get interesting because the ACC is going to be doing everything in its power to not fold, okay? Now, would the ACC choose to try and poach schools from the Big 12? Will they try and poach schools from the SEC? Or will they do what I think is most likely to happen and give a lovely call to Oregon State and Washington State and say, hey, look, we know that you've been roughing it for a while now, okay? The Seminoles, the Tigers, they left us. Your entire conference left you, okay? How about you don't drink alone in Vegas anymore? How about you come hang with the boys in the ACC, okay? You can just ask your friends, your former friends, Stanford and Cal, see how they went, see how they liked it, and come on over to the ACC. So I think that's a realistic option. I think those two programs would then find a home, and then you would eventually have your let's play the world's smallest violin for the Pac-2 that is now dead, because that's exactly what would happen. The Pac-12, Pac-2, Pac-whatever would then die out completely. Or what you might have happen is we've got the Wild West again, similar to what you had when the Pac-12 disbanded, and you had the Big 12, you had the Big 10 say, you know what, we are just going to welcome all of these teams to our conference. Let's get a little bit bigger. Now, does the Big 10 opt to do that? Does the Big 10 say, hey, the ACC just lost 2 of its top schools. Is this the time to go poach the other 4, right? Or poach maybe 2 of the other really good schools? Does the Big 12 say, hey, we love Florida State and Clemson, but we want to bring 2 others in? And then maybe the Big 12 gives a call to Oregon State and Washington State, right? Because they'd be a little bit closer as a conference geographically which I know, again, Shane Diefenbach would love. He loves a map that looks like it belongs, versus maybe adding some of the other ACC schools. So there are a lot of different options. Do we see the SEC get back in the mix and say, hey, you know what, some of these ACC schools that are a little bit closer to where we play, maybe we will bring them along to bolster not just a football conference, but maybe compete with the Big 12 in basketball by bringing in maybe some schools like a North Carolina, right? So there is a lot to happen. Danielle, I'm curious from your perspective and everybody in the chat as well, if Clemson and Florida State opt to join the Big 12, let's go ahead and put a poll up in the chat here. This one might be a little bit wordy. So we'll give out some options. How many options can we put in the poll, Danielle? Can we put 4?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go ahead. What happens to the ACC? Okay, that'll be the poll. What happens to the ACC? Stays together will be an option. Adds teams from the Pac-2. Disbands completely, or other. And other could be the Martians come take over. It could be, I don't know, maybe the dinosaurs come back, college football ceases to exist. Maybe Brett Yormark is the overlord at that point. Like, I don't know. A lot of things could potentially happen. But it certainly is going to be interesting. And again, it's going to be the next domino to fall. It feels pretty much a sure thing that those two programs are on the way out of the ACC. Now, whether they move to join the Big 12, maybe there's conversations to join the SEC, the Big 10. Again, those are two high-level programs that are certainly going to be on the market that you are going to want if you are a commissioner. And if you are Brett Yormark, those are two schools that I am absolutely doing everything in my power to bolster my conference as a football conference to go do. We know Florida State is pretty damn good when it comes to baseball as well. It would help add some baseball, some high-level baseball, that is, to the Big 12. You saw what Clemson did on the basketball front, on the hardwood this past season. That throws in another really solid team to an already dominant basketball conference. So certainly going to be interesting. Brian in the chat, maybe smaller schools are going to join the ACC. That's another good point. If you're the ACC, do I say, hey, maybe I'm going to go add the Oregon State and Washington State and maybe try and pull 2 schools from the Mountain West, right? Maybe I say, hey, it's about time that San Diego State and Fresno State get their run. Do you opt to do that? Do you go get Boise State? What do you do? It's going to be unique. And again, for people that love maps, for people that love geography, get ready to get fucked. Because, again, when it comes to conference realignment, nobody cares, right? There's no reason that you have Stanford playing Syracuse in football. There's zero reason. If I'm looking at a map, here and here, they got to go play each other. Why? Right? You just had these 2 schools playing here and here and here. And now we're like, let's, what I'm pretty sure they did was they're like, you know what would be cool? How far is the farthest we can possibly make 2 schools have to travel to play each other in a sport? And Syracuse and Stanford were like, you know what? We got this. Hold our beer. We got it. And that's exactly what happened. So it's going to be unique. It's going to be interesting. House of Heat Sports in the chat. I can't believe I could say I saw 2 power conferences fold in my lifetime. Not just in your lifetime, in the span of 3 years. In a span of 3 years, we're going to go from a Power 5 to a Power 3. Do you even call it a Power 3 at that point, or do you just call it the 3 conferences? Like, it's madness. And the fun thing is, you can experiment with it right now in EA Sports College Football 25. If you want to get ahead of the curve, just throw Clemson and Florida State in the Big 12, say fuck it, and go mess around with Oregon State and Washington State. Like, try it. What might be cool, and I know this is an Arizona State podcast, maybe load up as like an Oregon State in your dynasty and just see how gross you can get with your schedule, right? Say, screw the pack. Can you become an independent in this game? You got to be, right? You should be able to like create, or I guess not create, but go be an independent. If I'm Oregon State or Washington State and I'm loading in that dynasty, I'm absolutely doing that. I'm doing that. I'm scheduling the craziest schedule of all time. Come on.
I vote for chaos.
Yeah.
So
your team chaos?
Screw it. Yeah, screw it. Like, we got Cal Berkeley playing in the Atlantic Coast. Let's add Hawaii. They lose Clemson.
Do it.
They lose Clemson and Florida State. Let's add Hawaii. Why not?
Just get as gross as you possibly can. Oh, my gosh. How's the poll doing as it stands right now, Danielle? Do we got some votes on it?
It is also chaos.
It is also chaos. That's what I love to see. I love to see chaos from you, chat. Again, while the poll is cooking, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, drop a 5-star review. Also, open up another tab. Keep us open because we love to hear and have you guys rocking with us over on the YouTube channel. But as you open another tab, head over to gophnx.com. Click the little Die Hard tab, and it's going to tell you everything that you unlock when you become a PHNX Die Hard, including access to the Die Hard Discord. You're going to have access to all of our premium written content. You're going to get yourself a Die Hard membership card, a free t-shirt of your choice from the locker, and discounts on all events. And now is the perfect time to become a Die Hard. Leading up to the college football season, leading up to the release of the game, we had people going nuts in the Die Hard Discord. And it's not just for Arizona State. We have a Wildcats chat. We have a hockey chat. Sorry, Danielle. We have a Cardinals chat. We have a Suns chat. We have a Mercury chat. We have so much going on at all times. And we've got some great merch. The Valley Collection has dropped. And if you're looking to become a PHNX Die Hard, as we said, you're going to get yourself that free Die Hard t-shirt or hoodie, right? Is it a hoodie? It's either a shirt or a hoodie, I believe, or a hat. Or a hat. Yeah, a shirt or a hat that you are going to get free once a year. You're getting a new one. Now is the time, because look at that damn taco truck. I want that taco truck so badly. I ordered it. I can't wait for it to get here. I've also got the State 48 shirt. They're almost like collectible items at this point. They're comfortable, they're affordable, and they are absolutely great. Highly recommend. Again, you sign up to become a PHNX diehard. Brian in the chat, move some JUCO football programs up. That might be fun. Just say, screw it. We're turning the Estrella Mountain Community College. We're giving them a football team, and we're going to go crazy. House of Heat Sports, we're soon to say screw conferences, and every school is independent. I don't think that's going to be true, because not every school financially can actually do that, right? Certain schools, and you realistically look at the only one that is able to be and survive as an independent, that is Notre Dame. And you just look at the alumni base, you look at the traction, the fan base. There is not a lot of fan bases, if any, like Notre Dame out there that can really keep a program alive in terms of donors, in terms of funding, and all that type of stuff, including the TV deal that they have. So, I mean, that's pretty ridiculous. PHNX Sports with another just all-time MCC to ACC. I'm here for it. William in the chat, Hawaii versus Boston College conference game would be hilarious, but a travel nightmare. Can you imagine, like, how crazy that would be? And also, like, one thing that doesn't get talked about is, like, every year you looked at USC in the Pac-12 playing Notre Dame, right? That's one of their rivals. And I remember it was either my last year in South Bend or maybe the year after, where it was like super freaking cold in South Bend one year. And all these guys are playing in LA, right? All of these USC Trojans, they're accustomed to like 75 degrees in the beach. And it's like 20 degrees and snowing in South Bend. And everyone's like, we don't know how USC is going to play in this. Can you imagine if Hawaii had to go to Boston College in December or like late November, what that would look like? These poor kids would have to travel like 10 hours to freeze their asses off to play Boston College? That's awful. That is so bad. Like, that sounds like a Mad Libs for like college football, and it's just so painful. It'd be even worse in basketball too, right? All these guys going for 2 20-minute halves against Boston College. You got a 10-hour flight for 40 minutes of basketball. Like, that's ridiculous. It's absurd to me. Will in the chat, oh my gosh. Scottsdale CC Artichokes in the Big 12. Oh, God. It's madness, Danielle. What are the final results of this poll here? What do we got?
Okay, so
did the chaos continue?
The chaos did continue. So I'm going to end the poll. We are at, there we go, at 37% adds the Pac-2 teams.
Okay.
43% folds.
Wow.
12% stays together, 6% other.
Wow. For those of you that voted other, are we leaning on the Martians, the aliens? What do we got? Why other? I'm just curious, or what you think the other option is. Interesting that almost half of the poll says that the ACC folds, right? I'd feel like it's going to be a little bit more challenging as we kind of move through conference realignment to see another massive conference kind of fold, just because all of these other conferences already have so many teams, right? Like the Big 12 is 16 teams. If it were to add Florida State and Clemson, you'd be looking at an 18-team conference right now, which that's crazy.